Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode 31. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Monday morning. Dave, wishing we were talking about a Steelers victory. Unfortunately, we're not. I don't think either of us are incredibly surprised by the outcome yesterday. And although I think big picture, the reason for this loss is pretty similar to the last two, I would say this one was a little different in the sense of the Steelers having some chances and really just missing some clear opportunities to be competitive and potentially win this game.
Yeah, let me start off by saying gloom, despair, and agony on me. Oh, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. I get that out. Get that out of the way now because going to be a lot of that in this show here. I think Mike Tomlin kind of summed it up. And he says, referring to JuJu Smith-Schuster. I mean, obviously we're going to be getting into that and all, but he was asked, yes, you guys know which ones I'm referring to. We've got to have those plays, particularly when we're not playing as well as we'd like. Chunks eliminate a lot of execution, we say in the coaching business. And by that I mean, if you're not playing clean, splash plays or chunks of real estate aid you. And so we're not playing clean enough and we're not getting enough chunks to offset it. And that's why we're having the conversation we're having. And that, you can circle that and rubber stamp it probably for, really all season and going back into last season, late last season as well too. When you're not having proper execution on the field, both sides of the football, and you don't have enough chunk plays on all offense. We talk about explosive plays all the time and how big they are in games. All right. You really need those when you're not executing because you need to eliminate the amount of times that you snap the football because you might not execute well on those plays there. And I think that's, we obviously have a lot to talk about missed chunk plays in the game that the Steelers had, but going back this morning and re-listening, obviously watching the game a couple times and re-listening to what Mike Tomlin had to say, that response to the question really, really jumped out to me.
It did, and to me as well. And I probably sounded like a broken record all week because I had said, this team needs splash, offense, defense, and special teams. In all three phases, there were chances to do those things and missed chances ultimately. And one, in terms of special teams, was a ref issue. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. The Joe Hayden Fitzpatrick, blocked field goal touchdown ruled back on the quote-unquote offsides penalty. But even just looking at offense, defense, there were clear chances on both sides of the ball to make those big plays. And this team needs them until they can find some sort of consistency and footing. And obviously, they're not even able to do that right now.
Right, and we talked ahead of the game how probably going to need a couple of chunk plays, probably going to need a defense to force a couple of turnovers, maybe even a special teams play there. Well, all that was there. For the taking, and that's usually the case in any NFL game, though, right? You hate to kind of sometimes circle these things down to 4 plays out of 130 or 140 or whatever the number winds up being. But, you really can circle this thing down to about 4 or 5 plays in this game on Sunday. And if the Steelers make the plays or don't get a flag or what have you, then, the outcomes, either, the Steelers winning the game or it's a lot closer ball game than the scoreboard showed.
Yeah, obviously for any team, chunk plays are key. Whoever gets more chunk plays is the team more likely to have won the game. But for a team like Pittsburgh, I think it's even heightened because they don't have the consistency down to methodically push the ball down the field the way that Green Bay does. Green Bay didn't have a play longer than, I think, 28 yards from scrimmage yesterday. But they were obviously the much better offense because they stayed on schedule a lot more. They're more efficient. They do everything obviously better offensively than the Steelers do right now. So Pittsburgh can't really – they're going to struggle a lot more to manufacture the 12 play, 75 yard type of drive. They need to get the big 50-yard play that puts them in, scoring position right off the bat, or the turnover that creates a short field, or the splash play in the special teams game. Those things they need more than ever. Very similar to 2019. That's the philosophy and something I've mentioned throughout the week. And so they had those chances to JuJu, Minkah Fitzpatrick drops an interception, the special teams, blunder from the refs. We'll talk about that, like I said. Those are plays they have to make because there is no margin for error. They need to make those plays, and they did not Sunday.
Right. Green Bay can get away with not making a couple of plays like that in the game,
Right. They're not as so obligated to because if they don't, Rodgers is still going to slice and dice the defense the way he did against Pittsburgh.
Right. And he did, Yeah. And all right, so that's a heck of a intro, I guess. But once again, I don't think we're surprised at the outcome with the Steelers losing. Probably some of the minutia related to it, probably not overly surprised, but it was definitely a different kind of minutia in there. And look, Roethlisberger did try to push the football down the football field at times, but the end all do all, the stat that becomes huge now that I like to use in addition to adjusted net yards per passing attempt is the average completed air yard distance, and that's below 5. And you just, once again, it goes back to you have to make the plays. If you got to be able to run the football, you got to have good defense, and you got to make the other few explosive plays if you want to win with a passing stat like that, and they obviously didn't.
Right. Let's talk about injuries before we delve into the actual specifics of the game. Injuries in that game, I think there were two most notable ones, according to Mike Tomlin. Kevin Dotson with a hip flexor, replaced by B.J. Finney. He got injured on that one of the failed fourth down plays, and Cam Sutton with a groin injury later in the game. I don't know exactly when that was for Sutton, but he left with a groin and replaced by James Pierre out on the outside right cornerback spot. So it's Dotson and Sutton, the names to watch. And entering the game, the inactive, some guys injured we knew that weren't going to play. Okorafor, Coward, Carlos Davis. Those were the big names. Steelers got back officially T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. Chase Claypool, by the way, was downgraded to out on, I think, Friday, Saturday, so he did not play either. And so the team was missing a starting receiver for the second straight week.
Yep, and now we'll wait and see what Mike Tomlin has to say on Tuesday about a couple of those guys. I think Wednesday will be. Look, you would think that with Zach Banner resuming practice last Wednesday, and I thought it was a little bit too quick to maybe get him on the field, but you would like to think that he's got a better chance this week of getting out there, or this next week against Denver on Sunday. There, I think it's going to be another Wednesday to watch to see what happens with Tuitt and Anthony McFarland. It doesn't feel like Tuitt, is going to get the green light, but stranger things have happened, and Lord knows what's going on with Anthony McFarland right now, and just you don't really have a clue really maybe what the injury is at this point, and if he even had to have a procedure or anything. So all that'll get sorted out by Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, so we'll on Wednesday's show we'll have some more information about those guys and take it from there. All right, Dave, let's talk about the game again. A 27-17 loss. Pittsburgh falls to 1-3 on the season, remain in the basement of the AFC North. Let's talk about the offense. Usually start with the defense, and to their credit, they got off to a really hot start. We had the stat this week of the Steelers not having a first quarter point offensively in 11 straight games, and thankfully that streak did not become 12. A really strong first drive, very rare to see from this team, and Ben's best throw of the day, a 45-yard touchdown to Deontay Johnson right over the cornerback on a free play, a great throw over the left cornerback there. And so unfortunately you didn't get that the rest of the game, but that drive was very good.
Yes, it was, and we tweeted about that quite a bit this past week, and unfortunately been tweeting about it quite a bit since during that, like, what was it, 11 games, and then you go all the way back to I think week 7 of last season against the Titans, the last time they buried an offensive opening drive possession for a touchdown there. So at least the game got off to an incredibly good start for really the first quarter of the game. Wasn't bad for this team at all. If this thing had ended after one, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. But unfortunately, there were 3 more to be played there. The pass from Roethlisberger, look, that got him to jump out off sides. Deontay was smart to just keep running, had a pretty nice win off the line of scrimmage there. You go back and you slow that throw down there, the tail end of it there. Boy, Jair Alexander had quite a vertical on. He almost got that, but almost breaking up a deep completed pass means touchdown, and that's what happened there. So good on them. I thought, and we said, if they're going to have any explosive plays at all, especially with Chase Claypool out of this game, or likely to be out of this game, was the fact that they're probably going to come down the sidelines and probably to a guy like Deontay Johnson. So boom, 7-0, and you're thinking, all right, this not a bad start at all there for the Steelers.
Yeah, and the keys there was just they avoided the negativity on first down, which they've been the worst, team on 1st and 10 in terms of negative outcomes. So they avoided that. They got themselves in 3rd and short, a 3rd and 1 run to Najee Harris. A 3rd and 4 play was a touchdown to Deontay, so they were in much more manageable type situations. And unfortunately, that kind of went away the rest of the game. And really the theme from that drive on was just those missed opportunities. And in particular, offensively, the 2 missed deep balls to JuJu. One would have been a 32-yard touchdown, and another would have been at least a 30-yard play, potentially a 80-yard touchdown had JuJu ran away or broken the tackle from the cornerback. And I'm sure we can debate who's more to blame here, Ben or JuJu. Both guys took the blame for it after the game. But the point is, those were misplays and plays that have to happen for this offense desperate for the big play.
Yeah, I think a lot of the talk this week now is going to be about who gets the most blame on those. And obviously, Roethlisberger, in my opinion, does. I mean, you just have got to make those throws. Now, I think when you go back and you look, later in that game, they showed all 22 view of that. This is not in any type of an excuse for Roethlisberger, but I think when you look at those, you can maybe think what he was thinking he was going to get on the back end there. On the first one, I think he was trying to perhaps lead JuJu away from the safety on that one by a little bit there. On the second one, I think I think he thought JuJu was going to try to run away more to the middle of the field from the corner there. But Roethlisberger also said, post game that you're kind of caught and trying to put too much air out of it, keep away from a hit, blah, blah, blah. Does Aaron Rodgers miss those throws? No. Does Tom Brady miss those throws? No. Does Matthew Stafford miss those throws? Probably not. Right. That's what it boils down to. You can get into bending the route a little bit better and anticipating. Now, another thing that's probably going to crop up is, all right, was JuJu full in practice all week? Obviously Ben doesn't work on Wednesdays. How much does maybe not having those few extra reps matter in all this? You hear JuJu talk about it. I make those catches in practice all the time. He was not happy on the sideline for obvious reasons there, and it makes you feel like he's thinking, man, my quarterback can't get me the football anymore,
Right. He's also thinking, my contract depends on Ben getting me the football more. Two catches for 11 yards does not look good in free agency.
Right, exactly. And Look, the first one, obvious touchdown, and you're talking about a 4-point swing there, because they settled for a field goal on that drive, right? The second one, I went back and looked at it several times. Would he have scored on that one? I mean, that's a long way to go, and the corner was right up on him there. Hard to say for sure, but it would have been a chunk play nonetheless, and probably at a minimum, it's hard to speculate these things out. Probably another 3 points there. At a minimum there. So big plays there for sure. Once again, we talked at the top of the show, you have to be able to make those plays, especially in this offense, especially, deep down the field, and they didn't. So you really, I think, have to, when it circles back, and I'm sure these guys will be asked about this the rest of the week. Who did what? Were you expecting JuJu to do? I appreciate both of them taking the blame, but it comes down to the quarterback has to make the throw in that situation, or both of them, and he didn't.
Yeah, I'm with you overall. I'm sure there are small things JuJu could do better. You look back, hindsight's 20/20, but neither play, the ball never hit JuJu's hands. I mean, it was close, but it's just that much off, and that's kind of summing up the offense right now. That has been close in some cases, but can't get all the way. We've been really talking up the need to get JuJu vertical, to get him some explosive plays over dating back to last year. His longest catch, he's got over 100 receptions. His longest catch is 31 yards. Either of those catches probably would have been longer than his longest play of basically the past 2 seasons. And so, man, you need those chunk plays whenever your offense is sputtering. You need to get, field flipping type moments. And this team just can't even hit on those, clear opportunities right now.
Yeah, not only did you have one, but you had two, and almost kind of a flip, obviously going the other direction, but still seam situations. And we call for this team to connect vertically down the field more, and you didn't hit either one of them. And once again, the first one, an obvious touchdown. It'd be somewhat easier to swallow if you finish that drive with a touchdown and get past it, but they didn't. And then the second one, you didn't even get any points on the scoreboard in that situation. We're at a minimum. You probably should have 3, and who knows? JuJu's such a strong guy and so good after the catch. Maybe he shrugs off that tackle and goes 80 yards or whatever it was on that situation.
All right. Yeah, beyond that, just looking at the offense as a whole, there were a lot of issues, obviously, again, but Ben was just bad in this game. And there were so many missed opportunities in this one, just layups that he has to hit, short throws, those 2 throws that we just talked about to JuJu that have to be hit. And his accuracy was poor, not even just with the deep ball, but some of the short stuff was just off the mark. And that's kind of one more unusual thing with this game. We've had a lot of attention to the overall, deep ball and arm strength conversations that take place nationally, especially. But some of the short to medium inaccuracy from his game, even last week against the Bengals, has kind of been alarming. And this team needs to have some accurate quarterbacks to stay on the schedule, to work the quick game. And some of the RPO throws were nice, but some of the other throws were just clear misses by Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, you had one kind of early thrown behind JuJu that I guess he's trying to protect him from the middle. I don't know what he saw there. Another one behind Najee Harris and high that he couldn't come down with either. Trying to think. One over to Deontay over on the side, way high on that one. Obviously, the late interception at that time, just trying to make a play there. Why are you trying to throw a cover 2 hole shot, far side of the field like that at that point? I don't know, but that was just kind of like the icing on the cake in that situation. I'm trying to think other misses that he had in this game. I mean, that's not enough.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, the 2 to JuJu were the most impactful, but there was one, I think you'd mentioned it, I don't know which one it was exactly, but they were backed up on their own 4. Ben misses a hitch route to Deontay that would have probably put him in 3rd and 1. They end up punting on that drive. So just stuff like that should be routine. You should hit that 100% of the time, and Ben just missed them.
And then look, I mean, not everybody on the rest of the offense is off the hook, because there's obviously I think a 3rd down play that ended up going to Benny Snell that somebody missed a hot there. I guess it was James Washington. Ben was pretty upset as he came off the field there. So I think he expected James Washington to go hot and give him a quick slant or something like that in that situation there. But that's just
which happened last week too. That was an issue last week.
Okay, so that's just one more thing on top of it there. And once again, you talk about making plays in key situations there. Especially if it's a miscommunication type situation, that just lumps on, onto the rest of what happened there. And then, boy, fourth down again. And I know you wrote about this morning, and I want to spend a little bit of extra time maybe on some of these as well too to see what you saw there. I don't know which one you want to start with. Which one was first? Was the I guess the mesh route to JuJu against a zone was the first one, right? Or no?
No, it was the swing to Najee was the first one.
All right,
we can start with either.
All right, the swing to Najee. I don't know what Ben thinks that he saw on that one. 3-man pass, 3-man rush in that situation there. I suppose they were expecting man again. But that one really befuddled me. I mean, both of them did, but especially coming out of what you just came out of last week. I mean, Freiermuth, you had Freiermuth on kind of a quick kind of, I guess, switch route, settle in a zone situation there. Was there enough pre-snap to show zone there? Do you remember?
I don't remember, no. I mean, what it felt like to me was what happened against the Bengals last week, where Ben thought it was going to be pressure because the Packers were lined up and they were mugging the A-gaps. They were kind of showing like they might be coming, and so Ben threw the swing to Najee, which is the exact same thing the Bengals did last week. Both teams drop out and they drop 8, and you have no chance on that play. So I don't know if the actual intent and the actual first read of the play is to throw to Najee. I think they're running a spot concept to that side, a 3-man combination of a flat, a curl route, and a corner route, though Ebron trips and falls on that play, so it's hard to tell what route he's running there. But I felt like Ben just got spooked and thought there was pressure coming because the way he got that ball out immediately, as you said, against a 3-man rush, that should not happen unless you think there's pressure and you don't have time. And that's kind of what seemed to happen against the Bengals on that 4th and 10 play last week.
Yeah, I mean that ball came out so quick that he thought something was going to happen, and it didn't happen. And he didn't even give it a chance to look to see if it wasn't going to happen. And it feels like an accumulation. Look, this guy took how many hits did we say that he took for the first 3 games there? 10 against the Raiders, I think 7 against the Bengals, and just not a lot of faith overall. Probably not faith in maybe some line calls that he's getting up front either. And I mean, he's just trying to get the ball out quick. Period. And skittish, ghost, whatever you want to think there. It's just especially what even makes it even worse is it looks so damn identical to what happened last week against the Bengals. For another 4th down, and how many times is this team throwing behind the line of scrimmage on a 4th down play on top of it? That's another thing. And yeah, that was a head scratcher for sure, and he really didn't want to revisit that. I guess during the post game press conference, and I doubt we're going to get much of an explanation on that moving forward.
Another play, I'm sure they'll forget about what it was whenever he gets asked on Wednesday. Ben said after the game to his overall inaccuracy was that he was dropping his elbow a lot in this game. So make of that what you will. And I know the pressure is definitely getting to him. And I think this is one reason why we're seeing it. And it's hard for me to exactly show one play that gives me this feeling. But even his mobility within the pocket seems really poor. We're just not feeling the rush well, not able to find clean pocket. And sometimes there just isn't a good place for him to go because this offensive line and pass protection has struggled so much. But I just really feel like, that all the hits he's taken and the pressure he's feeling, it's not a lot of trust from the guys up front. And it kind of shows whenever he's really, as you said, skittish and kind of frantic and feeling rushes that ultimately do not come.
Yeah, I mean, it's all piling up there. I don't think he trusts the line, and don't blame him in a lot
Right.
of situations there. But this isn't old Ben either that just shrugs off, Suggs and
Yeah.
whomever, and then extends the play. I mean, those days are obviously gone. I mean, occasionally he can work himself out of a pocket, maybe make a throw or something. Then that gets dropped. Whenever he does that, you go back to that game. The game against the Raiders a couple weeks ago to Ebron over there. So
Hmm.
it's just a culmination of a lot of stuff. Now let's talk about the other fourth down play
Hmm.
there as well too, and that one was what? When did that happen?
That was early fourth quarter. I think about 10 minutes to go. 4th and 5, I think was the situation.
All
Yeah,
right.
4th and 5.
All right. Now here's the thing. You send Najee out wide pre-snap there. Now the play clock is a little bit against you, I think, in that situation there, starting to wind down. But the reaction to Najee going outside, was that enough to let you know that it's zone? I think it
Was
was.
was there a corner or a linebacker on him
It
outside?
was a
I do not know.
it was a corner outside that just
Okay.
widened with Najee.
Then that's usually it's not 100% obviously, but that would be a zone indicator.
Right, and that was my initial thought that by going off of TV tape too, because there was another thought I had was, but once again I think the play clock was against him. Is do you do some sort of quick return motion or something, just to as a quick indicator there. We've seen Ben do that before. Send in a half motion just to, is this man or
Hmm.
not? But I feel, just from my knowledge, that the way the outside corner on that far side reacted to Najee was enough of an indicator that that was zone. Okay.
Okay.
Now, it's obviously a mesh concept, as JuJu put it, a man beater in that situation there. Design a mesh can work against both man and zone, but when it's run against zone, you have to give that time for the player to run through the zones, not into a zone. Out of either you're going to hit a player coming out of a zone quick enough, or you got to wait till he gets through the next zone. And in that situation, Ben got JuJu the football as he was going into the next zone, and obviously well short of the chains there.
Hmm.
My only thought was, okay, if you know that it's zone pre-snap because of the indicator outside with Najee, is there not enough time, or do you not have something else called, or is there some sort of check or something that you can do in that situation to put you in a better play? Because
Hmm.
mesh rub-offs are a lot more better man beaters than they are zone beaters.
Yeah, I didn't notice it, so it depends on what the play clock was. You said it was running down, so there may not have been time for him to audible if the play clock was winding down, especially on the road when it's loud and it's kind of hard to communicate.
What was the time on that one again? Hold on here.
The time of the play was 10-12 in the fourth quarter, 4th and 5. And yeah, I mean, mesh is best to beat man. And so obviously the play call was to run that. And I assume that means the Matt Canada thought they were going to get a man look on that fourth down situation, and they got zoned. So, you're calling something expecting a certain defense, and you're not. And obviously defenses can shake things up and tendency breakers. So I'm not sure what the scouting report was, but that seems to be just a poor play call because what you're calling is not because you think it's going to beat one defense, you're not getting that defense. And so your play's kind of really doomed to start. There was pressure on that play. Dawson got hurt on that play. Ben takes the hit, had to get the ball out. And so it's just a mess from, I think, play call to execution.
All right, I'm looking at it now here, and he sends Najee out. The corner widens way off there. Looks like it's single high maybe. I mean, it's definitely a zone coverage there. Now, when does the ball snap? When does he send Najee out? There. Play clock's already at 10 when Najee goes out of the backfield and goes out wide. Najee settles. As soon as Najee settles, there's 6 left on the play clock.
Yeah, it's tough unless you're giving like a one route nod to somebody. You're not going to call a whole new concept to some group of
Well,
guys.
he even gets a chance. He kicks the leg up with 3 seconds left on the play clock, and looks over to defense, and then kicks the leg again and takes a snap with. Well, be honest with you, the play clock said 0 before the ball snapped.
Yeah, and that's part of the silent count stuff they have to do with the leg kick and stuff. So you have to incorporate that. You can have time for all that stuff as well. So, yeah, I mean,
it's not even close. I just noticed that as well too. There, the play clock is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ball's still not even close. Yeah. Could have got a delay there easily. That would probably been the best thing to happen on that play. How many timeouts did they have at the time? They had 2 timeouts left at the time.
Because they burned one before the other fourth down play. That was the fourth down play they had come out on the swing to Najee. That was out of a timeout.
So I guess the question becomes, should you call timeout there? Should they have got in a different play there? Should there have been some sort of check? Because and then that's also the play right that Dotson slips. So there's more pressure coming, even though Ben is not close to being hit by the time he delivers the football. But I mean, he throws that right, and not only that,
he took a big shot after the start. He was close.
Yeah, he did. The ball is also low to JuJu, so JuJu's got to go down to go get it at that. And then the linebacker's right there. And
I do appreciate JuJu's stretch, about 2 yards shy. That was a big Rosie Nix signaling first down vibes right there from JuJu. But yeah, I mean, it's just like I think it's a bad play call to start. Canada was expecting man, I would assume, and he just didn't get it. And it just feels like the Steelers are running a lot of concepts against defenses that they're not getting. Claypool last week had talked about how they seem to run single high stuff. They try to run middle of the field stuff and they get single high, and they try to run outside stuff and they get too high. And it just seems like Pittsburgh's always a step behind conceptually in the in the play calling chess game. But execution's a problem too, because Dawkins gives up the pressure, and if Ben has time, maybe someone gets open.
I don't know. It's starting to come around, starting to collapse around him all the way. Anyway, I don't think there's time that I don't think he gets the time to let JuJu clear that.
No, he doesn't. I'm saying if there was time, if Dawson does his job, then Ben might have time. But yeah, I mean, Ben had to get the ball out because that was a pretty big shot. He actually took a screenshot of that. You can see him grimacing in pain as he takes that shot. I'm gonna have to put a compilation because again, the hits he's taken is one thing, but how hard these hits are, maybe that's because the dude's 39, but he just looks brutal out there for him.
So what is the yearbook of Steelers video going to be? Grimace of Grimace of 2021 or the season of Grimace, or I don't know, because you're right. You're going to have a full compilation of those grimaces.
Yeah. As soon as Ben retires after the season ends, he's deleting the phone number of every single offensive lineman on this team right now, and he's just going to go hang out with Dick Castro and Willie Colon because these guys are – and again, it's tough. I mean, they're young guys, but it's not been good.
Overall, and this falls in the category of how did you enjoy the play, Mrs. Lincoln? The offensive line as a whole was better. I mean, right?
The bar was very low. They ran the ball better. I mean, it's funny to say on a day where they ran for 70 yards that was good. And they ran for 62 actually. So it wasn't great, but it was better. I will give them that.
I mean, the degree of better, it wasn't great. Obviously, I mean, you get on that sack fumble there. I mean. Trey Turner, oh boy, just I don't know if you call that skate walked or what have you, but that was not pretty, and Ben's got to eat that and get I know he didn't feel that, and the guy made a great play sticking his arm out, strip the football out there. 11. Hold on to your math, all right.
Okay.
11 of the 15 runs by Najee Harris against the Packers were successful runs. That's 73.3 percentile.
That's really good for anyone. That's like sincerely a good number to have.
That's out of the chart, man. I mean, that's out of the park when it comes to this team, especially for 15 runs. I mean, if you told me that sample size was 8, I'd say, not a large sample size there, and obviously 15's not huge sample size, but there were some good runs, and I think the runs were kind of split like 8-7 in the halves as well too there. So obviously the big qualifier there is, well, they only had 15 runs by Najee Harris, and obviously you get into an end of a game situation. I think on a few of these successful runs, you're going to find the run blocking not great, but they made it work. And obviously an odd front, I think, might help them a little bit in those situations. Look like a little bit more man blocking on that, right? In this game?
Yeah, I would say so. It kind of felt like it. Yeah, Kenny Clark was relatively quiet. Looks like the stat line: 4 tackles, did have 1 for a loss, a quarterback hit, recovered the fumble that was forced. But I mean, he wasn't the game record that we kind of feared that he might be.
Right. I was worried that Kenny Clark was going to come out of this game wearing not Kendrick Green as a hat and Ben Roethlisberger as a brooch on it. But overall, Kenny was kind of quiet, for the most part there. But there were some run successes in this that we've already talked about a few times that Roethlisberger had time to throw down the field. A couple of those times to JuJu, so that's a plus. The home run ball to Deontay was some time on top of it there. So a minor victory, but a victory nonetheless. That I think the offensive line played better overall. But once again, as you mentioned there, the bar was very, very low in this, and I think you're going to see Najee being getting a little bit more credit on a couple of these runs than maybe the offensive line.
Yeah, Harris is such a tough runner, dude. He's giving it his all out there, and he's a battering ram. He falls forward, and he certainly was a reason for a lot of those runs becoming successful with his yards after contact and drive and stuff like that. But the bottom line overall for this offense, Dave, is this team scored 17 points. And 17 points in 2021, not going to win you many games. It'll win you games in 1976, but not in 2021. And the only 2 teams this year to not score 24 points in a game are the Steelers and the Jaguars. And the Steelers' high of 23 came in week 1, which was aided by the special teams touchdown. So the offense itself hasn't scored more than, 17 points, I guess, in a game this season. And, I mean, even if your defense plays decent, and I guess the Steelers' defense in this one played, okay, I guess. But even if your defense helps things out, scoring 17 points is not going to win you many games.
No, it's not. Especially not against the Packers.
Right, because we knew it. We knew that you had to probably score 24, 25, I think I said on Friday, to probably be competitive or try to win this one. And 17 against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has not lost many games, I'm guessing, when the opposition has scored 17 points.
At this point, the popcorn is burning in the microwave, right?
We're running out of popcorn metaphors and references here.
Because they just, and it goes back to kind of how we open the show up and talk about what Mike Tomlin said. You're not having enough splash to overcome the massive amounts of execution issues this team is having. You get what you have gotten through the first 4 games, and okay, yeah, they were missing Chase Claypool. Okay, yeah, they if anything, Joe Haeg was a little bit of or was an upgrade over Chikwamo Okorafor in this game. Probably won't be surprised if Joe Haeg ends up being the highest graded offensive lineman in this game, to be honest with you. And Najee played well. I thought overall. I thought Deontay played well overall. I thought JuJu played well overall. But the quarterback didn't. And if you don't have a quarterback making plays, especially against a team like Green Bay, then you're going to end up losing the way you lost against the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, Deontay made some plays, but to kind of sum up this offense was that sequence of that 3rd and 4 play where they throw, hot to Deontay. He runs. He basically has the marker. If he just falls forward, then he runs backwards, ends up getting no yards on the play. So now it's 4th and 4, and the Steelers go for it, and Deontay false starts. It becomes 4th and 9 and Pittsburgh punts, which I think was a bad decision by Tomlin. So that just kind of sums it up. You basically had 1st and 10, and you turned it into 4th and 9 punt.
Right, and that's another one of those situations where you have to, we talked about James Pierre and knowing the situation, last week on the defensive side of football there. This is one of those ones where, look, bless his heart, he's trying to make a play. He's good. He's always good about making people miss and things like that. But there comes a time where you just got to lower your head and know where you're at on the football field and just make sure to get the chains, and he didn't do that. So, yeah, that was the most negative play that Deontay had in that game.
Yeah, and kudos to him for making that play happen. As you said, breaking multiple tackles. That's good, but you did the hard part, and you screwed up kind of the easy part of just knowing the marker and falling forward and making the play. And so, just kind of sums up the season of just so close yet so far away.
Right. Anything else offensively that only got the ball to Freiermuth, I think once in this game. Probably need to re-examine that. Thank God Ebron caught his. I think he didn't have a choice where Ben put that one on him. I think that was a defensive catch by Ebron on that one that he had. What else did the targets and all look like in here? Benny Snell shouldn't have a catch. I'm assuming that that ball would have went elsewhere other than Benny Snell. Gentry had one. What? They have more faith in Gentry early in these games in the run blocking department right now over Freiermuth.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the snap count's going to look like. I saw Gentry out there early. I guess it's just they like his size overall and just kind of ability to kind of leverage these guys. But I mean, Freiermuth's a big guy. Gentry's a bigger guy. But I'll have to examine it. I guess Gentry's done okay as a blocker.
It feels like they don't have enough faith right now still in Freiermuth, maybe in some blocking categories. So that's got to change if that's the case.
Yeah, just overall, pretty heavy target day to the wide receivers and, just some more inefficiency. In possession downs, especially this team was 4-13 on third and fourth down combined. They've been generally poor on possession downs all year, despite I think the first down offense, I'm guessing, was a little bit better this week, but still not converting, not finishing drives. And that just speaks to why you only score 17 points.
All right, defensively, I guess now is where we go.
I'm trying to think. Did I have another point for the offense? I'm trying to think I had another thought or not, but I guess not. Yeah, defensively, I mean, the quiet issue the last 2 weeks has been the run defense being poor. And despite the return of TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, the teams have been able to really stay on schedule and have success in the ground game. Green Bay ran for $130 in this one. You take out the two kneel downs, they averaged 4.5 yards a pop with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. And so it starts there for me. Obviously, the secondary has issues as well. We'll talk about, but the run defense, which needs to be good for this team, has not been good. And Kim Hayward talked about this week how the run defense has to get better, and it was, if anything, worse against the Packers.
Yeah, I didn't think Henry Mondeau played well again. I don't think Buggs played well. I don't think Loudermilk, when he was in there, I don't think he played well. I think because they were some of the things maybe they, once again they got themselves behind in behind the chain situations too, And I think they were trying to do some things up front, maybe with some stunts, trying to get guess and get pressure on certain behind the chains type moments, and that stunted them right out of gaps, maybe against a few of these runs, right? And it snowballed. I mean, they were getting gashed right up the middle in this game by the running backs there. And boy, I wonder why I didn't have time to look at the success rate that their backs had, but it felt high.
Mm-hmm. And if I don't know exactly what the breakdown was on those runs, but it felt like a lot of those zone runs again, where guys get down the track, running back picks the hole, he cuts back, he hits the hole, and Pittsburgh just struggling. And so again, obviously, when you don't have Tyson Alualu, and those kinds of things, playing with Henry Mondeau and, Isaiah Loudermilk as opposed to Stephon Tuitt and Cam Hayward, your run defense is going to look a whole lot worse. But even so, on some of those plays where the back, you forced the back to bounce to run, you had him in the backfield, you had chances for stops, and you can't get him down. There was one play Aaron Jones should have been stopped for a 1 yard loss, and he bounces it left side. He gets 3 yards. It's now 3rd and 1 instead of 3rd and 5. I thought the contain on overall in this game was pretty poor. In the run game, where running backs were able to get to the outside and guys weren't securing the edge well overall. Even TJ Watt had his issues there. So it just felt like, as Watt said after the game, guys trying to do too much, not doing their job, not being assignment and gap sound, and running backs are finding creases.
Yeah, I think you're going to find at least two instances I know of in this game that when we get the all-22 out where he had like 2 or 3 guys in one gap. You know, I think Schobert, Bush, and I think Wormley, if memory strikes me, on one of those plays just left a huge hole right up in the middle on there. And yeah, look, I mean, you can't have Aaron Rodgers is dangerous enough when he doesn't have a running game. When he does have a running game, can check to that kind of stuff and you know, get you in off schedule situations. I mean, you got to be able to put some running backs on the ground, and they just couldn't do that enough. And even on some of those stuff as you mentioned, some of those perimeter runs there, man. Steelers defensive backs are getting bodied by some wide receivers, it felt like, on the outside as well too. And you know, you gotta work through that, man. I thought Millette played okay for the amount of snaps that he had overall, and maybe that's the guy that they you know, that needs the most snaps now in the slot, at least for the time being there. But yeah, it wasn't good overall, especially against the run there. And once again, once you let Aaron Rodgers stay ahead of the chains and get to the line of scrimmage in plenty of time, then he's just gonna pick you apart there, and he did. You know, we went into this. It was one of the keys. I think, you know, it wasn't a surprise. Try to take Davante Adams out of this game. Try to bracket him just like you did week 1 against Diggs, Waller in week 2. You just don't let that guy crush you. He's going to get his catches, and he did. And once again, he wasn't the guy that crushed them. But on the flip side, they didn't have enough, you know, they couldn't stop the run and couldn't, you know, Aaron just said, okay, if you're going to take that away from me, then, you know, I've got Cobb. And Cobb just, you know, just really did a great job, and Steelers didn't do a great job of defending against him.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, to their credit, does a really good job. When they want to take a guy away and slow him down, they do it. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Darren Waller, Davante Adams held for 6 catches, 64 yards, and 11 targets. Like, that's just a pretty average, you know, just standard performance there. And so the big guys aren't killing you, but the other guys, the secondary guys, you know, the third, fourth options are. Randall Cobb, 2 touchdowns in this game. You know, who would have saw that one coming? And so on that first one, you know, Terrell Edmonds does not know where his help is at on that play. He's supposed to have inside leverage. He lets Cobb cross his face, and that kind of shows you that it's all about, you know, IQ and technique and leverage and things like that, because Cobb is 31 years old. He's not a very fast guy. Edmonds is a young guy, athletic, and he cannot catch up to and cannot make the play on Randall Cobb. So it doesn't really matter how athletic or what you test. It's all about leverage and angles and positioning. And Cobb, you know, was the better route runner, the savvier player on that play, and scored because of it. So that's a 31-year-old Cobb who's probably in the last year of his NFL career beating Terrell Edmonds, who's 25 years old and runs a 4.4 something, and so you just can't allow that play to happen. Not
much of a fake of anything by Cobb on that play either to get Edmonds to stomp his feet, you know, on that, and to compound the problem. Look, I firmly believe that goes on Edmonds for sure, but Minka slips in the end zone, you know, and if Minka doesn't slip in the end zone, at least you have blades of grass to defend, possibly by him coming up and making the tackle. But by him, you know, by Cobb making that catch and crossing the face of Edmonds, and then Minka, I mean, it was one problem followed by a miscue on the other end, and they're standing in the end zone in a situation where they shouldn't.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, there were the field conditions weren't great. It was rainy there, and so yeah, there were guys slipping, and Minka certainly did on that play. So that's a good catch by you. But yeah, to the point, you know, Edmonds just has to play better leverage on that one, and did not, and lost his leverage, and Cobb makes him pay. And the first time Cobb's had 2 receiving touchdowns in a game since 2015. I mean, the guy's really not had much of an impact. You know, even though Rodgers kind of demanded and requested Cobb get traded from the Texans, he's been really quiet so far this season. Plays Pittsburgh and has a big game and scores 2 touchdowns.
And then look, you know, they said after the game, they saw that Aaron Rodgers said that they knew and probably saw, you know, there was a lot of, the Steelers did a lot of stuff predictable on defense, but they almost had to because of the known attention that they were going to give to Adams in that game there. But They just couldn't get enough consistent pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And look, when early in the game, letting Aaron Rodgers leak out to that side for an easy run-in touchdown. I mean, they probably still score there. That kind of stuff there. But it's just one other thing. Then one other time, didn't they have just 10 guys on the field?
Yep. Yeah, that was early in the game. I forget the outcome of that play, but only 10 guys. They were missing Millette, the nickel corner, was supposed to be out there and did not get on the field.
You just cannot little mistakes like that, grow into big ones throughout the game there, and got you in a situation. Now look, they did. I guess it's time to get to the end of the first half there, and obviously the field goal block.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say just really quickly, I think the Steelers quarterback contained this season as a whole has been really poor in their 4 and 5-man rushes. On that Rodgers rushing touchdown, that's a 5-man rush. That quarterback should not be able to break contain on a 5-man rush. 4-man rush, it can be tougher because you got 5 blockers, 4 guys rushing. But 5-man rush, Watt tries to swim over to the inside. I don't know if he had a 2-way go there or not, but I know Watt was hurting in this one. He had his ankle wrapped up. The dude did not look like he was 100%, but I thought Watt, his contain in both run and pass on first watch, to me, was actually really poor in this game.
Yeah, I had to put my glasses on after the when looking at the game book to make sure that he got 2 sacks in that game. That was the quietest. I was trying to run through my head. Where did he get his 2 sacks at?
I knew where he got the first. I had no idea where the second one was coming from until I saw the game book.
Right, and there was a point. Now here's a funny thing about him. I felt early on in that game, I thought to myself, man, that guy don't look 100%. The way he moves, not chasing, especially on some things out on the edge, and not chasing the football 100% there. And I think this is after he got his ankle wrapped and all like that. I thought Watt got healthier as the game went on. I don't know, looser or whatnot, but he looked healthier as the game went on. He still didn't look 100%, but I thought he got healthier on into the second half and all like that. But look, I thought Ingram had a couple of nice pass rushes in there. I thought Cam Hayward did a good job getting in there and hitting, forcing, bad throw here and there, but it just wasn't enough. You got to make Aaron Rodgers make mistakes, and
they had to play a lot of zone in this one. He plays zone against Rodgers. He just fires you up.
That's like Brady years ago, What poison do you want if you play cover one man against them? They just run those. They run the mesh, and they run them perfectly and run those picks and just rub you right on off, and. So it was a kind of a pick your poison type situation there, but there was an instance. Minka almost had an interception early.
Yep.
You can't after the game talk about almost had, especially against a guy like Aaron Rodgers. You got to take advantage of those situations there, and they didn't.
Yeah, need to have those plays. Like I said, chunk plays missed. It wasn't just the offense, so that was clear. It was defense, the drop interception there for sure. Minka's got to make that play. Minka has not been. I don't think he's as bad as way some places like PFF have graded him, but he's not been good enough. He's not his usual Minka self so far this season, and so that's disappointing. One positive though, Joe Schobert had a nice job in coverage. 2 big plays into the first half there to force that field goal. We'll talk about here in a moment. Those were 2 difficult plays to carry their tight end vertically, and then to make that play on Aaron Jones on the sideline. So kudos to him for making some positive plays in coverage.
Right, but just not enough overall. Run game. Fails and everything else in the passing. Boy, you get jealous and you watch some of those developing routes from like a dig post combo that they ran to the middle of the field and were able to hit on. Just makes you sick to see other teams be able to do that stuff.
It is, and it does, Dave. All right, let's talk about the end of the half there. The field goal blocks. Packers were up 14-10 right at the end of the half. Couple seconds left. They go to kick a field goal for Mason Crosby. Gets blocked by Minka Fitzpatrick. Him and Joe Hayden coming across the line of scrimmage. Basically step for step. Minka picks it up, returns it for a touchdown. Pittsburgh should go into the half with a, what would that be, 17-14 lead. Right, wrong. Refs rule offsides on the play. Watch the replay. We don't always get the best angle to evaluate it, but every angle that I've seen, and you hear from guys like Gene Steratore and basically any even unbiased, just fan watching the game, most people seem to agree that it was not offsides. It was the wrong call, and I would agree with that assessment. I think that Minkah and Hayden just timed it up exceptionally well.
Yeah, I try to, you get to these kind of game-changing or momentum-changing plays like this. I absolutely try to look at these as objective as possible there, and I did that after the game and zoomed it, and I've got all the video stuff to kind of work with these kind of things here, and from every TV angle that we have so far, the ball moves and then they move over on that side. So unless they were lined up offside pre-snap, which I don't think so, because the flag, I think, came out much. It's almost like the flag comes out because I can't believe there's no way that they got back there that quick without being offsides.
Right.
And I don't. Do we know exactly? I know people have said that flag was thrown after Minkah had blocked the kick and all like that. It will be nice to see the all-22 just to see the moment that the flag is thrown. It almost feels like a reactionary. Man, the two of them got back there. They had to be offsides. Here's the flag.
Who did they even call it on? Did they call it on Minkah or Hayden? And not that it makes a big difference. I'm just curious who they actually deemed as offsides.
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me look at the game book here real quick.
I think it might have been Minkah, but I actually do not know that.
They say penalty on Hayden.
Okay, on Hayden. Listen, if you watch that first field goal, I think it was actually might have been the extra point. I'm pretty sure it was the extra point after the Packers' first touchdown. Hayden jumps that snap the same way, and he almost gets it. He gets pretty close, and so I think they didn't call it then. So I think he thought he was good, and he was good, and so he was timing it up really well. And so I think it was just a bad call.
A lot of times you'll see these long snappers kind of lift the ball up, or roll the ball over before. But this guy, I think, just flat out just starts moving this thing back. Until I see something else to prove, to make me think otherwise on the all-22, I think they got screwed out of one there.
Yeah, and the impact of that one was huge, obviously, because this team needs those kinds of splash plays. Like I said, it wasn't just offense, it wasn't just defense, it's special teams that have to be able to make those moments the way they did in their one victory of the year against Buffalo in the opener. And that, I don't know if they win that game, if that play stands, and it's a touchdown for Pittsburgh, but man, they got a much better shot, obviously.
It certainly changes the complexion of it going in at the half, for sure. I mean, you're talking about a huge point swing in that situation there, and once again, for a team that has to have those kind of type of plays in a game to be able to win them, and that was one of them. So, it's hard to go, extrapolate out how the rest of the game would have went. There, but without a doubt, I think they at least go into the half with a 17-14 lead, right?
Yeah, they would have. And Green Bay gets the ball at the half, and so there's the field goal stands, or they get to re-kick the field goal, I should say, and so it's 17-10. They get the ball at half. Green Bay does. They get another field goal, so it's 20-10. So by the time Pittsburgh gets the ball back, it's midway through the third quarter. They're down 10. They should be probably tied or up, or who knows. So. Yeah, that was a missed call, and it certainly can't be the reason why this team lost. This team has a million other reasons why they lost this game, but that should have been a play that happened, and unfortunately, it did not count.
Yeah, and you just got to overcome. It's hard. It's easy to say that, but it's even harder for a team like the Steelers. Once again there. So, yeah, I do think they got screwed on that. It'd be interesting to see when the actual flag was. And, of course, Joe Hayden's going to say I wasn't offside. What do you expect him to say? But within all that, I do think this is one of those times that they got screwed here.
I agree. All right, Dave, any other thoughts here in this game?
What happened on the Harvin 20-yard punt where he ends up on the ground? That's another one I look forward to seeing on the all-22, because you don't – did the guy get blocked into him? Did Harvin just try an acting job or what? Did he slip and fall? I don't know, but I was kind of curious. As soon as that punt got away by Harvin, I thought, here comes the flag. That's a roughing,
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see that. I don't think you got any better of a view than I did on that, but 20-yard that's something else. A 20-yard punt in that situation, you're thinking, oh, brother, you're giving them the football on the wrong side of the 50 there. How's this one going to turn out?
Yeah. How did it turn out? They get a field goal or a touchdown out of that? What was the outcome of that?
They
got a touchdown. That was a touchdown to call. Second one.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, the shortest punt by Steelers since 2015 when Jordan Berry had an 18-yarder against the Bengals. But yeah, there was pressure. Somebody came free. I thought it was going to get blocked at first. I don't know if there was a penalty there. I haven't gone back and looked at it, and you don't get a good look at it, as you said. But yeah, that one 20-yard punt, never good.
And then, the strip fumble sets up the Packers on a short field. That's a no-no.
Yeah, and the defense can't get a stop. I know it's a really tough situation, but they talked about sudden change have to be better. The Steelers have allowed the touchdown on the last 3 turnovers they've given up, discarding that interception by Ben at the end of the game. But the sudden change moments have not been good enough either.
All right, so a pretty complete loss, team loss once again, punctuated by the quarterback missing some big throws that are really, really easy to point to in this game.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where it starts in terms of the missed opportunities, but it does not end there. I'll put it that way. So Pittsburgh 3-1, or 3-1. I wish 1-3. The rest of the division is 3-1, and so now you're seeing space created by Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati compared to Pittsburgh, and that's just it's a really big hole to try to climb out of.
When you look at Roethlisberger's completed air yard distance going all the way back to the first game of 2020. It's not pretty, and, you can go through a couple of games and kind of turn your head and maybe not pay it a lot of mind. But, I mean, you get this far into this thing now, and especially under a new offensive coordinator at this point there. I mean, you just can't put up numbers like that. I mean, you now have Roethlisberger also with an adjusted net yards per passing attempt number of under 5 at 4.9.
That's the worst in the football.
No, there's like 4 or 5 teams worse than that. The Jets are one of them. The Jaguars are obviously one of them.
Bears.
The Bears are definitely one of them there. Let's see. Where is
Colts,
it here?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Not good company to keep. Even though you're better, you're hanging out with some of the worst offenses in football.
The Bears, 2.9.
Okay, that's cartoonish.
The Jets, 3.3. And even their quarterback was able to push the football down the field a little bit in that game against the Titans. The Dolphins, 4.1. The Jaguars, 4.2. The Steelers, 4.9, and even the Texans now are slightly ahead of the Steelers at 5.0 adjusted net yards per passing attempt number. So this is a 4-game span, folks, okay? Now, you look at their defensive adjusted net yards passing attempt number over 7. You look at the offense at 4.9. That's a negative differential, I think, of like 2.8. All right? You don't jump off the bridge just yet, but you just make sure your shoes are untied. I mean, you make,
okay.
You get ready for it here because I've done this a long time, track these numbers, usually week 7 where you start jumping there. It's so hard to come back from this stuff, man. And there's no sign that even if it gets better on both sides of the football, that it's going to get better enough to make a difference there.
Yeah, that's to me the most depressing thing. And I'm sorry to bring everyone down here on a Monday, but I imagine no one's feeling too cheery right now listening to this. I don't see any signs of it getting fixed this year. I think it's just I don't know what you do structurally to change this stuff and make it better.
I mean, they're going to have a couple of games you would think where, oh, okay, there it is. They won a game that they're supposed to win. I mean, look, Denver's coming up now, and they're only right now, at least before I got on this podcast, we're a point home favorite against Denver, who has a quarterback, I think, in concussion protocol or something there. Denver obviously was undefeated before they went into that game against Baltimore yesterday, and then I think Denver was also without
7 starters, they said?
Yeah, 3 offensive linemen, and I mean, just missing a ton of guys there. So, look, we talked about games that you're supposed to win, at least that you circle ahead of the season started, that you better win, and they haven't won any of them so far. This is as much of a must-win game as obviously that they've had all season here against Denver. If you lose this one, and then obviously you have Seattle coming in the next week, and then the bye. I mean, it's already Mike Tomlin said he's not pushing the panic button now. If he's not pushing it, his hand's on it. For sure at this point. Now, I guess the other question at this point, and it's going to obviously be huge talk coming out of this game too. At what point do you pull the cord on Roethlisberger? I think people are spinning their wheels. People are going to say, well, how come you guys aren't more vocal about calling for Roethlisberger to be benched? Because you know what? Nobody gives a flying, you know what here. It doesn't matter. We can scream all we want about Roethlisberger being benched or satisfy people's feelings by proclaiming Roethlisberger needs to be benched. It's not happening, folks. I'm sorry. It's not. It ain't gonna happen before the bye anyway. Period. And I'll be surprised if it takes. It's gonna have to get a lot darker than it is right now.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. To me, that won't be an actual conversation until the team's officially eliminated from the playoffs, and that could be in Week 13. At the way this thing's going right now, who knows? But it's not going to happen next week. It's not going to happen anytime, I think, in the foreseeable future.
I mean, you only hope that you come out next week and you give some bit of optimism. Maybe the defense just has an all-time all season game, gets a couple of turnovers there, and just really dominates, sets up some short fields. The offense makes the plays that they haven't made so far, and then maybe you get 23-10 win against the Broncos next week. But even so, that's one game, and it's against a team that you probably should beat if you got got a healthy lineup in there. You got a lot more of these games throughout the season that are a lot more questionable than that. So I mean, I said 9-8 before the season started. Mike Tomlin might deserve Coach of the Year. He gets 9 wins out of this team the way we said now. It's obviously not good right now, but within that, you just spinning your wheels. These talk shows and all like that, spinning their wheels, saying that Ben Roethlisberger needs to be benched or should be benched or whatnot. Okay, that's fine to have that opinion, but it's not going to make a difference in the record, and it's not going to happen. So why spin wheels preaching for something to happen? It's just not going to happen.
But Ben is playing poor, obviously.
Sure.
We're not trying to defend Ben here and say that he's not an issue, or I don't want to sit there and start ranking what the actual issues are. Everything's a problem right now, but Ben is not playing well, and if anything, he's playing worse. He had a decent game against, was that the Raiders game? I think he played pretty well. Beyond that, though, all these other 3 performances have been poor.
It's been down the list of things, but it's hard not to say that wasn't one key area yesterday in that game.
Yesterday was not a down the list issue kind of game.
Right. In a game that the only way you're going to win is if the quarterback makes the plays. He did not make them. So yeah, you want to put a lot of blame. You want to put most of the blame on Roethlisberger in that game yesterday. Yeah, have at it for sure. But the only way this team is going to win numerous games moving forward this season is if the defense plays well, if the offensive line plays well, if they have a running game that they can lean on heavily. Once again, he threw 40 times, right? Or forget what the total amount of pass attempts was in this game. That's not the way that this team's going to win games. They might a couple of them throwing that many times, but more times than not, they're not.
Yeah, they probably won't win many games at this rate with throwing 40 times. Even last year, some of the stuff they could do in the huddle does not seem to be an option for him this year. So, yeah, I mean, this is Ben's final year. Obviously, I think it's pretty much clear at this point, and just like I said last week, going to try to enjoy it, at least whenever the end of the season comes, and he's playing the last 2-3 games of his NFL career.
And once again, if he keeps taking hits the way he's been taking hits anyway, you're not going to have to worry about a benching moment.
What did you tweet yesterday? Like, these things will take care of themselves. That's kind of
these kind of things always tend to work themselves the way out. The glitch will fix itself. Or we fix the glitch. By not doing nothing, we fix the glitch. And unfortunately, that's the way you kind of envision this thing going. At some point, this guy's just not going to be able to get up off the ground. Because of some of these grimace hits that you've characterized him as being, and boy, there has been a bunch of them so far. And if not, then there's going to come there will come a point, week 13 or week 14, where they just got to say, look, we got to look at what Mason and Haskins can do, just so we know ahead of next season there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point down the line. But yeah, Ben sacked 10 times in 4 games this season, was sacked 13 times in 15 games last season. So those are the numbers. Do want to give him some kudos here, a little bit of positivity. Ben, 400 touchdown passes, 8th quarterback in NFL history to accomplish that mark. And so although the season seems like a dud, that's a number that will go down in the record book. So kudos to Ben for becoming the 8th quarterback with 400 touchdowns in a career.
What did they say yesterday? Not a great day for Dan Marino, right?
Yeah, it was a good quip. That was because what would be the other numbers? Did Brady pass a number on Marino? I know Ben did. Or Rodgers. It was Rodgers passing Marino in passing yards, wasn't it?
Right.
Okay, because Brady passed Breeze for passing yards. I guess he's number 1 now, so that was the stat there. So, yeah. But do you want to give kudos to Ben for that accomplishment?
All right. Where are we now?
That's about all I have for the game right now, after I kind of rewatch things and finish charting and all that kind of stuff. Any other thoughts here about either pregame, postgame, during the game, or if not, we can get to some reader emails and close out today's show, Dave.
All right, what's one of the there's obviously several things you're looking for on the All-22. What is one key thing that you maybe can't wait to get to on the All-22?
I just kind of want to dial down some of the run defense issues, what those problems were. Is it one guy? Is it a scheme? Is it what the issue was, because I think no one's really talking about that a whole lot, with the whole offense being ugly being the big picture headline story. But this run defense has been it was average to below average against the Bengals, and I think it was pretty poor against the Packers. And I think that's kind of a big problem right now that not many are really analyzing or discussing.
All right, let's see here. Let me pull up some emails.
It should be
podcast question. Justin Mamula writes in, Dave and Alex, in the second quarter of the game yesterday, the Packers were flagged for a block in the back. The penalty was accepted and enforced. It was explained as a 10-yard penalty. However, instead of being 1st and 20 for the Packers like a holding penalty, it was a 1st and 14. So Green Bay received the yards for the previous play, and they also got the first down back. It seems like a win for them. Can you help explain this penalty? Why wouldn't it have been 1st and 20 or 2nd and 14? Do you remember that?
Vaguely, it's a spot foul, and I'm not a rules expert over here, but that's a spot foul. So it's marked off by the spot where the penalty incurred. It's not at the line of scrimmage, and so that's why it's 1st and 14. The way the Pittsburgh had a 1st and 17, I think they did last week against the Bengals. So it's a spot foul thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't recall it in my head all of a sudden. I'll have to go back and look at that, but I think you're right. Jelani writes in, Steelers offense blame pie. He goes on to say, hope all is well. Seems like the offense cannot put up more than 17 points a game, pretty much leaving the defense to play a perfect game on a weekly basis. With that being said, how would you guys divide up the blame pie for struggles of this offense? How much of it is on the O-line, run game, receivers, Ben, Canada, etc.? Oh, Jelani, I mean, obviously yesterday, what we just said, yes, against the Packers, a lot of it goes on. A lot of it goes on Ben. Okay. Be interested to hear what Canada thought he was going to get on a couple of those 4th down looks. And here's something too that's going to make the rounds. Evidently, Charlie Batch was railing on I guess against Canada on the post-game show. We have not heard it. We're trying to effort to get audio of it. Talking about how Ben's hands are tied, a lot more tied on things that he can do. I guess, I don't know, no huddle, post, pre-snap, those kind of things there. It's hard to comment on Batch's comments there. So it's dangerous for us to do just based on hearsay there. So maybe, I don't know, Alex is going to try to get some of that audio. Maybe we can talk about that on Wednesday there. The blame pie. How would you like to divvy up? I mean, obviously the offensive line's not been great. I thought the offensive line was better against the Packers for whatever that's worth. I thought the wide receivers for the most part played well. Najee, I thought, made some tremendous plays, some good after some good yak on a catch or two there for sure. Obviously, his leap over for a touchdown was good. How would you like to divide up the blame pie on offense?
Yeah, I don't have a great number to distribute to each side. I don't really think about it in those terms too much. Yesterday, I would put it primarily on Ben. And then from there, maybe offensive line is probably the way I would divvy it up. But I don't have a percentage number to give you. I just know they are missing those chunk plays they have to hit. And Ben, to me, is the primary reason why they didn't hit those two key throws to JuJu.
Let's see if we can have something else here. Chandler Stroud. Chandler here once again. I'm just curious. We always talk about the offense taking advantage of the middle field. I feel as if not only did they try to do so, but I feel like the offense tried to expand a little in general. More shots down the field. They ran the ball a little better. So I guess my question is, defensively was yesterday an anomaly, possibly just a plain and simple result of playing a Rodgers offense, or should we start having some concerns about this defense? Once again, thanks for continuously being part of my week and always creating the best content. Thank you for that, Chandler. Look, it was just goes back to two. You got to stop the run in there. You can't let Aaron Rodgers. It's hard enough to play Aaron Rodgers down. Tyson Alualu down, not having Watt totally healthy, those kind of things there, and not having Stephon Tuitt, obviously, at least the last year's version of Stephon Tuitt, and then you've got to be able to stop the run in there, and they were getting gouged at the wrong times, and if you let a guy like Rodgers stay ahead of the chains where he could get to the line of scrimmage and put you in those unfortunate situations, and you don't know 100% if he's passing or checking to a run, it compounds the problem. The defense has been a concern this season, no doubt. I mean, you don't get a adjusted net yards per passing attempt number of over 7 with the amount of sacks that this team has had for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just because they played Rodgers. This defense does not have a personality that it's had in the past. Its personality was man-heavy, blitz-heavy, stop the run. And right now they're not playing a lot of man. They're not blitzing a lot, and they can't stop the run. And so the kind of core tenets and building blocks of this group, because of some of the youth in the secondary, so they're playing more zone. They're protecting by not blitzing as much. They're protecting those guys a little bit. That's the reason for it. The run defense is some injuries and depth problems there. So the defensive line, or the defense as a whole, while it still has talent with Watt and Hayward and Minka, et cetera, cannot play to its kind of base principles that it has in the past 2-3 seasons.
I mean, look, I worried about this defense taking a step back before the start of the season. Even came, and I think that was even before not having Tuitt, and then obviously before Tyson Alualu went down. I mean, they definitely have taken that step back, and here's the thing:
is it a bigger step back than you expected?
Oh yeah. Most definitely it is at this point. Yeah,
me too. I agree.
I mean, without a doubt, it is. I mean, look, I thought maybe having as low of a adjusted net yards number as last year was going to be very, very tough to duplicate. Even so, I thought, okay, they can get it around, 5.8, 5.9, maybe the worst case scenario, 6, at least a defensive number that puts you where that side of football puts you in a position that if the offense plays good enough, you can there's some sort of playoff spot, because the age-old thing is it's got to be under 6.2, that number for the defensive side of football, and then obviously however great your offense can be, over 6 helps offset that. Well, they're not even playing up to that right now. So yeah, it is even worse than what I thought it would be, and I think you would agree.
Yeah, I would. The number needs to be 6.2. What's that number at right now? 7 point what?
Oh, yeah. 7 point. Hold on a minute here.
And do you know where that ranks league-wide? I'm throwing a lot at you. I apologize, but just curious. I always like to know where the number stacks up, relatively speaking.
All right. It is 7.7. Eighth worst. Tied, wow. And I guess percentage points, Seattle has them. Seattle has 7.7 as well too, with their defense. So them and Seattle right on par with each other. Worst in the league is the Jaguars, 9.6, Lions 9.5, Falcons 8.7, Colts 8.1, Titans 8.0. I wouldn't have guessed that. Chiefs 8.0. Washington has a worse adjusted. I wouldn't have guessed this one at the start of the season. 7.9. They have a worse just by barely adjusted net yards per passing attempt number than the Steelers do right now.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh is just as surprising as any of those stats there at the 7.7, and that's after a good performance against Josh Allen. So I imagine the last three losses, it's probably been 8 something. I'm guessing.
I mean, you don't. I mean, there's still 3 weeks before we start nailing the nail. Put it this way.
You're holding the hammer right now.
Yeah, and the nail holes are kind of pre-drilled right now, so that way you can easily just tap those things in here. But I mean, it's probably not good for our ratings to start talking like this. But I mean, we try to be upfront and honest as we can here. It's not good right now, and there is no. It really take a lot of convincing in these next 2 games against Seattle and Denver for me to change my opinion at all. If you get to this bye and things haven't changed drastically, then it's over. It's already over probably now, but that's when we start nailing it shut.
Yeah. By the way, it looks like Patrick Surtain of the Broncos is expected to be okay, according to Tom Pelissero. So it looks like he'll play against the Steelers. Let's talk about just real quick here, quick sidebar, something funny to talk about because I don't know if we'll get an email about it. The interaction between Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, little smirk after Tomlin called that timeout after Rodgers kind of had the Steelers with too many guys on the field. So fun little cat and mouse game there. And after the game, Rodgers was asked about it and said just doesn't have a good relationship with Tomlin, hasn't really spoken with him, but has a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin.
That obviously means Aaron's going to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2022, correct?
Hey, I hope so. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's one of those. I like you, Tomlin, but as a friend, I'm going to go somewhere else with a better team where I'm not going to get destroyed. But you're all right, Tomlin.
You talk like you've had experience.
I may or may not. As a guy who loves talking about special teams, I may have gotten the like you as a friend thing before.
Okay. Look. I think we laid it out there in the last podcast or podcast before there. It would be it's something to root for. Sure, it'd be fun to watch. I don't see how anybody couldn't be excited if something like that were to happen. But I would be stunned if that happened there. I think this is Aaron Rodgers being cordial Aaron Rodgers. And look, I think he is a Mike Tomlin fan. Mm-hmm. But being a fan of a coach and getting things worked out to play for that coach, especially at his cost and the quality of player that he is, are 2 different things. So this will obviously dominate things moving forward on into next offseason and those things. But we're both on record, I think, of saying that I will be shocked if that happens.
Yeah, I would be.
It was a cute exchange. It was a cute exchange. I mean, it was definitely a cat and mouse. You almost got me type situation there. You know.
Yeah, but that's probably all it'll be.
Right. Jeremy Patton writes in, longtime listener, love the show. Assuming this is Ben's last season with 13 games left, what are your thoughts on Ben's chances of getting another 20 touchdown passes to tie Dan Marino for sixth all-time, 1.53 per game the rest of the way? I would love to see it, but so many missed opportunities already this season, I'm not sure he gets there. I'll hang up and listen. Jeremy, it's hard to envision. It really is. I'd have to say I'm with you for Ben to get 20 more touchdowns. I don't know. Do you see it, Alex?
Yeah, I think he could. If he gets just one game where he gets maybe 3 or 4, he's averaging 1 a game right now. If you just have that 1 or 2 odd games, yeah, I mean, he needs 24 total. He needs 20 more, or he needs 24 more.
He says with 13 games left, what are your thoughts on Ben's chances of getting another 20?
Another 20, so he needs to finish the year with 24 touchdowns. Yeah, I'll say I think he does it.
Okay.
But it does not mean he'll play well. It just means the aggregate of it all.
All right. Michael writes in, just the fact. So after the final score was official and the rage and anger dissipated, I was looking for a form of hope and found pain and sorrow, which developed into painfully ignorant optimism. Tomlin led teams that have lost to the Raiders in the regular season, have not made the playoffs. The Steelers have played the Raiders 7 times since Tomlin took over in 2007 with a 2-5 record. In years, the Steelers have played the Raiders and won. 2010 and 2015, the Steelers made the playoffs. In years, the Steelers lost to the Raiders. 2009, 12, 13, 18, the Steelers did not make the playoffs. 2019 is an outlier. They did not play the Raiders, but didn't make the playoffs. The universe needs balance. 2021 will be the year the Tomlin losing to the Raiders equals no playoffs. Curse is broken, I believe. I don't know what he just said there, but all right, Michael. Let's see here. Todd writes in, clearly Roethlisberger is elevating the team or the players around him. He's making wrong reads and missing wide open throws. Will the organization really bench their Hall of Fame quarterback even if it's what the team needs? Charlie Batch commented that there is a huge battle between Canada and Ben. Are we going to sit and slug through the season and not have a clue what Mason or Haskin has? Finally, why should the Steelers trade for Rodgers? Finally, why would the Steelers trade for Rodgers and his $41.6 million salary next year? That leaves no room for any other improvement. As always, the best and most objective podcast out there. Thanks, as always. I'm sure, Todd, we're going to get asked about this whole Aaron Rodgers thing moving forward, but I mean, it's going to get tiring real quick there. So we just said what we're going to say about that for this show there. The question becomes about Ben and when do they pull the cord on him? My saying of these things have funny ways of working themselves out. Unfortunately, it might not be funny, but you can't let him take hits like that. At some point, I think if it goes the way that we think that it's going to go, and once they officially get eliminated, and who knows, maybe they string this thing on into week 16 and not officially eliminated. One can only hope or not hope, I guess, depending on what side of the hope line you are on there. But I think we'll see Mason and or Haskins at some point. I just don't know when to tell you when.
Yeah, it would be later in the season, like I said, with a team out of the playoff race, probably when they're officially eliminated. So I think it certainly could happen, but will not happen, for till December, early January.
Bryce writes in, please give us a rendition of the Depression song. I hit that at the top there, buddy. Disappointing day from number 7. The deep ball accuracy at this point in his career is just too inconsistent. JuJu may have said those deep shots were on him. Not being precise enough in his routes, but I'm not buying it. The future Hall of Famer has to hit wide open wide receivers for touchdown, period. If you can't do that consistently, then we can expect to see more of the same from this limited offense. I mean, you're not breaking any news there, Bryce. Number 2, as far as a successor plan for Ben, the Steelers missed that window in 2018 when they didn't draft Lamar Jackson instead of Terrell Edmonds. I predicted to my friends that Jackson would be the pick, but I was wrong, and we are still paying for that mistake. Your thoughts? Okay, our thoughts are, yes, you were wrong. They didn't draft Lamar Jackson. So there you go. You were correctly wrong. I guess that's what he's looking for. let's see here.
Yeah, I mean, it'd been nice for the Steelers to draft him. I mean, heck, the Ravens passed on Lamar the first time. They drafted Hayden Hurst, a 25-year-old tight end. So, I mean, yeah, would have been nice, but what are you going to do about it?
Derek Smith writes in, with the assumption, hope this will be Ben's last year, is there a strong case or any case to be made for bringing back Matt Canada? I, for one, would prefer starting with a new slate. Everybody, I mean, already going into this game, there was a lot of calls for, it might be a record, Alex, 3 games into a new offensive coordinator wanting him fired there. Matt's not doing a lot of things that we've seen him be able to do at least college programs because of lack of mobility. Will they go one and done with him, assuming this year's Ben's last year? I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too, but I don't think he's done a good job. I think there's a lot of frustration there, and I'm trying to effort and find the Charlie Batch comments, but the stuff about Canada and the personality issues and stuff are things that I've heard about. And there was a coach on Twitter who I respect, and he's not, I don't believe ever worked with Canada one-on-one directly, but had some pretty negative things to say about people who have worked with Matt Canada before in terms of the personality and things like that. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not. It's not solely a Canada issue, of course, but I think from a scouting standpoint, in terms of calling games and trying to anticipate what the defense is going to do, it's not been going well. When you're running mesh and you're expecting man and they're running zone, when you're running stuff middle of the field and they're playing single high and vice versa, you're trying to run stuff on the outside, they're playing too high. The process, the scouting does not seem to be going too well right now for Canada.
Now, you can guess wrong, in situations like that and think that, Packers probably did a good job of self-scouting themselves, right? Which sounds like a foreign word when it comes to talking about the Steelers. Mm-hmm. But, okay, once again, it goes back to especially that that mesh route that we talked about earlier in the show on the 4th down there. Do you have... if you come up against that and it's identifiable, that you gotta have a way to get out of that.
Yeah, I felt like on that play they at least did not have the time to get out of it, just from the play clock standpoint. But just bad process.
So where is the fail that you just unfortunately call? Look, I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around to Canada here. I mean, I'm not trying to dodge that at all, but look, they're not using a lot of motion still, right?
Actually gotten worse, I think, this year, right? Personally, I guess because they're down in a lot of games.
Right, and it's understandable in the second half when you're, but to me, they're not allowing him to run a lot of things either. And look, maybe he will be one and done, and they say, look, whatever the whatever the quarterback is that we, assuming they draft one, we need to start maybe tailoring things around a young quarterback there. So, I mean, who knows how that's going to go? But normally, I mean, how many times have you seen a coordinator go one and done with the Steelers?
Most never happened probably before. Was Tim Lewis there for a year? I don't remember.
Well, I mean, especially in a Tomlin era where the guy was hired.
Yeah, I mean, it's never happened from a coordinator standpoint. I mean, they haven't had many coordinators in general. I get the sense that Canada has a very kind of, and maybe I'm wrong about this, you can disagree, but it feels like it's more of a rigid, structured system, which I think actually could work well for young rookie quarterback, college quarterbacks. Probably is helpful for them, but for a guy like Ben, who likes to play with freedom and is certainly used to playing with a lot of freedom and autonomy, this kind of more structured, rigid system is not working well for him.
All right, so more like Todd Haley year one, right?
Probably. I don't know. Haley was certainly more of the drill sergeant and the best friend, like the way that Randy Fichtner and Bruce Arians were. I don't know if Haley's system was as rigid, though, as Canada. I say that because I can't speak to how rigid or not rigid Haley's system was. But yeah, similar to that, I think.
I mean, look, offensive coordinator, obviously, with the way things have happened, the way points aren't being scored right now, is going to get fingers pointed at him, right?
Sure. Rightfully so.
All right, so let's revisit kind of this talk after hopefully we'll get some audio from what Charlie Batch had to say the other day there. And look, I mean, Canada has bounced around quite a bit, hasn't he?
He's barely ever stayed at one school for like the last 5-6 years. So that it was hard to know what to make of that, but that was an interesting part of his resume. From what your expectations were when Canada was hired
versus what you've seen so far?
It's been disappointing, but I could say that about the entire offense. The run game, it's been disappointing, and it's hard to evaluate Canada because is it his issue or is the team just so bad like it's hard for any of these guys to succeed and thrive in, and it's hard to kind of parse those things out. And so when you can't run the football, as his team's generally not been able to do, it's hard to really do anything because the whole offseason game plan was improve the run game, and this run game is not any better and in a lot of ways worse than where it was a year ago.
Matt Mummy.
Matt Mummy?
Yeah, you know who Matt Mummy is?
I do not.
You don't? Matt Mummy is the offensive coordinator for Nevada.
Oh my god!
He is son of Hal Mummy.
Okay.
Matt Mummy, former Kentucky quarterback, as well. Need to get some of that air raid going, Alex.
There's been singing in Nevada talk, and I quit. I'm done. I'm out.
Look, I mean, I don't think you could obviously run 100% air raid in the NFL, and I think even Nevada has seen that they have to run the football at times there. But it sure is exciting to see footballs being thrown down the football field consistently there. But, I mean, once again, it goes back to we expect this team to probably address the quarterback situation in some way, shape, or form, unless they just really are not, even if they didn't deem this to be a strong quarterback class overall, which, I mean, early signs are that it's not. Would you agree? I mean, it's still way early in this, but I don't think this is going to be a quarterback class that's going to rival some of the better ones there.
Sure.
So, I mean, even if you were the Steelers and you went into this draft going to draft one, and let's say you didn't draft one in the first round, you're still probably going to draft one second or third round and take your lottery chance that way there. But even, I guess what I'm getting at is Mason Rudolph, the probability of Mason Rudolph being the week 1 starter right now in 2022 has never been higher right now, right?
Yeah, so I'm glad you bought that stock in him because I guess it's going to rise. I mean, my thoughts, though, on the whole mid-round quarterback saying, I'm a go big or go home kind of guy. Either take him in the first round or do something else, but we'll see.
But I'm a fan of throwing mud on the quarterback wall, too. So if a guy you like isn't there, or you don't get the guy that you like in the first round, have at it. Until you get a franchise quarterback, you don't have a franchise quarterback. So I'm not even opposed to drafting 2 quarterbacks.
The old Washington route, the Kirk Cousins RG3 approach.
Man, I don't have an issue with it, man. Because once again, you're not going to win in this league if you don't have one. Sure. But anyway, that's a comment. I mean, that's a discussion I'm sure going to get heavier and heavier. And yeah, maybe this team does move on from. I guess this all stemmed from the question about Matt Canada and could it be one and done. You can't rule it out. No, I don't think so. I think I'll be surprised if they did go one and done with him, though.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's possible, which is rare for me to even consider. And would I hate the idea? I probably wouldn't. I mean, we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but it's not going well right now.
One final one here from Matt writes in, with the season looking grim, are there any other players you could see the Steelers trading away for picks if they go that route? Look, I mean, this is just uncharted territory that I think we're about to get here. The fact of the matter is, though, the trade deadline is coming up pretty soon, is it not?
It's still week 8. I think I asked you before.
Right. So you're going to have to make a decision on that pretty soon if you're willing to sell some guys off for some 5th, 6th, or 7th round draft picks there. Just because history says that they likely won't. I mean, it's easy to go that way.
Yeah, but history usually hasn't put him in this situation. If you trade, who do you trade, though? It would really be like James Washington. That's probably the only name that makes sense in terms of trading away to somebody.
I would think Washington. I don't know. Could you trade get a bag of footballs for Ebron?
That's
maybe.
all you would get.
Schobert. Could you get anything for Schobert? Recoup maybe anything.
If they did that, how bad would that look? I mean, you probably could, but I don't think they would.
Well, I mean,
he's
he's asking players. You think that they could? I'm trying to come up with some names here.
If you want to get crazy, a Wormley, I don't even want to deal Chris Wormley for a fifth.
Do you let Joe Hayden try to go win a ring somewhere?
That'd be crazy. I mean, you might get something for him, but I think if you do seriously consider, it'd be like a James Washington for like a 6th round pick.
Yeah, you're not going to get much in return here. Oh, and I bet people really like Joe Haig starting to load up some snaps now.
It's true, the comp thing, yeah.
to ruin the comp formula on that. Yeah, if you didn't need anything else to get mad at. Oh, another thing about the inactives and Kello Witherspoon. Are you shocked that Kello Witherspoon's a healthy scratch?
A little bit that he can't get the hat over Justin Lane. I mean, yeah, some of these picks, I know they wanted it for depth, but man, if this guy doesn't get a hat really at all this year, except for, the Raiders game, man, how big of a disappointment that's going to be. This team just kind of burning through some 5th round picks with Avery Williamson and Witherspoon and other guys.
I'm not a bit shocked because of the special teams and tackling value there.
Yeah. So what was the point of trading for him?
That's a good point. I mean, that's a different conversation, though, is it not?
It's a different conversation, right? But it goes to the thought process of why did they deal for this guy then?
Okay, and I mean, at some point, you'd probably like to maybe get Carl Joseph up on the 53. I don't know. At some point, he will be. Either that or he'll get poached along those lines there. But
they just protect him every week, I guess. And then
yeah, I'm not shocked. Me personally, I'm not shocked that Witherspoon is not getting a helmet. Now, Cameron Sutton's dealing with a groin injury this week now, part of club groin, and I suppose there becomes the possibility of that happening now. But I'm not shocked because he's so far down the cornerback depth chart, and Justin Lane, like it or not, is a better special teams player than Witherspoon is.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
All right. Anything else to add on to this mess? We'll be back on Wednesday to talk a little bit more about what we saw in all 22. Probably, hopefully, have a beat writer in there to talk about the Broncos, and then go from there. Right?
Yeah, we'll have our live stream tonight at 7 to 8, so an hour of fun. I'm sure answering everyone's Steelers questions over on YouTube, and be back on Wednesday with a podcast.
All right, there we go. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button, upright navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button for $25 for 1 calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of the site. A lot of people taking advantage of that. So until Wednesday, good job, Alex, and look forward to climbing into some all 22. Well, not I do, because I'll learn something, and that's about it there. But until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.